What's good, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala. That was a quick snapshot of a meeting between Ibrahim Traore and the Russian president and officials. Um, Russia recently celebrated 70 years of defeating Nazism in the world, and they invited several countries, including Burkina Faso, Venezuela, but notably out of the African countries, Burkina Faso. I just had to turn off that camera. Burkina Faso was one of the main guests because of the revolution that Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger Republic are implementing. And also, um, we think about the relationship that has been created between Russia and those three countries. They've established a partnership. Many people have questions about if the partnership is going to be beneficial for the African countries. It's left to be seen, in all fairness, but from what we have or what we've always had, there is nothing to lose. There is absolutely nothing to lose. If you've had a country that has had relationships with some other countries, like the western part of the world, and that relationship has only yielded detriment to the lives of the people and benefiting the people in leadership, then something has to be done. And that's why many of us are absolutely rooting for Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. He almost seems to be the face of the revolution going on. But notably, we're not going to ignore Tichiani of Niger Republic and Goita of Mali. These guys have done an excellent job in staging a revolution and kicking out the Western imperialists from their country. So we love it. Now, the question of the day is, are Nigerians rooting against Ibrahim Traore? I found this guy. There are so many Twitter influencers these days. This guy, the African mogul, Duke of Savannah. He says here that Nigerians are hating on President Ibrahim Traore, yet this is what they have for a president: a fossil, hands of Ibrahim Traore. And that's rightfully said. Why would anybody want to chastise Ibrahim Traore over this guy? So this is what Nigeria has to offer itself and the world. This guy is the president of Nigeria. All right. And he's an absolute stooge of France and the West. Ibrahim Traore, on the other hand, obviously against the French and the West, or the imperialism that they bring. So this is a legitimate question, because if you go online and you find a lot of people, especially Nigerian people, trolling the efforts of Ibrahim Traore and the AES guys, it's simply because they want to ride or die for this guy, Tinubu. They love Tinubu so much, and they just want to portray him as someone that is beneficial for them. But in reality, Tinubu is not beneficial for anybody. We all know that. Human psychology is so powerful. Based on my experience on dealing with people politically, I can tell you that people's psychology is very strange. You would find people that are victims of bad situations. For example, terrorism. You find people that are victims of terrorism running away for their lives, trying to survive. Because some terrorists came to their village, burned it down, they had to run away in the middle of the night, and they are hiding in the bushes, trying to survive. But in the middle of that survival mode that those people find themselves, some of them, if you ask them if they would support the government that put them in that mess, they will support the government. You see, it's human psychology. It's something that is unexplainable. Maybe we have to leave that to the psychologists. For example, the same people that are rooting for Tinubu, right? Even though Tinubu is absolutely detrimental to their lives, right? Even though a lot of these people don't have enough to feed themselves and their families, they can't even afford, they don't even know what to have for dinner. A lot of these people, when they fall sick, they have to contemplate between using their finances to take care of their medical expenses or to feed themselves. But these same people fall into the category of those that would criticize Ibrahim Traore and root for Tinubu. I'm talking about people that are literally getting killed by Tinubu. Their lives have been miserable by Tinubu and Nigeria. But they would root against Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso and root for Tinubu simply because Tinubu, they feel like it's their responsibility to defend Tinubu, a politician that is a billionaire, that doesn't give a shit about them, that is a stooge to the West and detrimental to their lives. But they would rather support a Tinubu because maybe he checks their tribal affiliation or their religious affiliation or simply their political. They just want to stand for what they believe, even though it is destroying them. But what makes them hypocrites is that these same people will be begging for assistance, begging for help from people that are against the Tinubu's government. I'm just giving you examples of how people's psychology work. So when this guy came around asking this question, in all fairness, it's a legitimate question, but it's not too logical or intelligent. Let me put, and I don't mean any disrespect to this guy, Duke of Savannah, but it's not really an intelligent question because you've just generalized everybody in this group. Nigerians are hating on President Traore. That's a generalization. You can't say that. You should have said some Nigerians are hating on President Ibrahim Traore, and this is what they have for a president, a fossil. That would have made more sense. Because obviously, someone like me, even though I fall into the same tribal, ethnic category as this guy, Tinubu, I absolutely want him to get served justice. All the injustice that he has been serving the people of Nigeria made them victims and destroyed the lives of millions of people. I want him to pay back for those crimes. But you see, it's so unfortunate that Nigeria, let me start with evil begets evil. So the first evil was the existence of Nigeria, right? Nigeria created a system where only criminals can get into power to be in charge of Nigeria. So this same Tinubu, so influential a politician, he used its influence to bring in Buhari in 2015. Buhari became the president for 8 years. Buhari completely destroyed Nigeria. And after those 8 years, he said, I have to be the president. It's my turn. And he did everything possible to become the president. Obviously, rigging the elections, people got killed in the process. And today, having been the president for 2 years, he has this further destroyed the country. Like nobody would have thought Nigeria could be destroyed more than it was under Buhari, but Tinubu has done a great job making it worse. So yes, some Nigerians, because of their stupidity and the fact that they are just shallow-minded, they are just dummies. They would rather root against Ibrahim Traore that is trying to implement a proper independence for his own country. They would root against him and root for Tinubu because they feel the need to defend Tinubu because of the tribal or religious affiliation, not necessarily because they benefit anything from Tinubu, but they are just, it's human psychology. That's what I was trying to explain earlier. And the reason why they are rooting against Traore is because Tinubu works for the Western governments, especially France. He's literally always in France. And the French government and the Western government, who he is a stooge, a puppet to, they've told him that, hey, Tinubu, you guys are like the strongest country in West Africa, which is a lie. That used to be the case in the 90s, in the 80s, not any longer. Right now, we're all terrorist reading, we're all weak. So they tell him lies like, because you guys are the strongest country in West Africa, you need to stand against a so-called military junta. But this is not a military junta. This is a revolution. This is a revolution in which Ibrahim Traore, Goita, and Chiani of Niger Republic, they are trying to implement a proper independence for their countries, in which if any foreign country wants to come in and do business with us, we have to have a fair negotiating deal. We have to sit down on a negotiating table and have something that is beneficial for our people and maybe your corporations. It has to be fair. We don't want a case where the French military is in Niger Republic, French large corporations, mining corporations in Niger Republic are mining uranium, taking it to France, the raw material, using it to power their nuclear power plants so that the French people have electricity, while the people of Niger Republic have zilch, no electricity, no money, no nothing for 70 years. It doesn't make sense. It's not sustainable. So it's only reasonable what those guys did in those countries. And if you're going to claim that, oh, they came in through non-democratic means, oh, they are military juntas, we have to stand up against them, then we should also stand up against Tinubu, because Tinubu came in through non-democratic means. Yes, there was a fake election, but he completely rigged the election. I mean, all the evidences are everywhere. I don't need to show you nothing. Just Google search and you will find a lot of those evidences. He did the same thing. Plus, Tinubu's doctors live in France, so he has to go to France every month for medical reasons while abandoning Nigerians to dilapidated hospitals. And this has been the same way. It has been the same for the last 15 years. It's not just Tinubu. Tinubu is not the first guy. Tinubu is simply taking advantage of a failed state. A failed state would have criminals in charge of it, and these criminals are going to have access to billions, and they would have so-called protection from countries that they are stooges to, like France. The video that I showed you earlier in the live stream was President Putin of Russia welcoming Ibrahim Traore and the envoy to the 70th anniversary of the Russian victory over the Nazis. We saw how respectful that was. And if anybody has any suspicion, I think it's logical for you to be suspicious about any relationship that African countries are having with the rest of the world. It's logical, including Russia, because Russia is stepping in at a perfect time, at a time where the African countries are cutting their ties from the Western imperialists, and Russia is enemies with the Western imperialists. So Russia steps in and becomes friends with the African countries. So you could say that the only reason why Russia is stepping into the picture is for its own personal benefits, and that is logical. But my rebuttal to that is that the work has to get done. The mining companies in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali that were Canadian, French, British, and recently kicked out of those countries and replaced with Russian companies. It looks like we're exchanging one imperialist for another one. But at the same time, the work has to get done. The mining needs to be done. Someone has to do the mining. So if the Russians are temporarily stepping in to do the mining, make sure that the work continues to get done, while training the African people in the machinery, in the mining process, so that at some point they can be self-sustainable with the mining operations, then it's a good deal. Now, I'm not saying that I'm privy to the deals that were signed. I'm not sure if the Russians have signed it in crystal clear documentation that the deal will be to continue with the mining process that the French left recently, and then train the local people so that they would be self-sustainable. I'm not sure if that is the deal that they signed, but if that's not the deal that they signed, that's not good. At the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is nobody is above criticism and nobody is beyond praise. Yes, we are currently praising Ibrahim Traore and the AES. Me personally, I love them. They are doing a great job, personally. But we still have to make sure that they don't make some grievous mistakes. So I'm going to be ending up the live stream by saying, number one, it's a generalistic tweet or question thinking that Nigerian people are against Ibrahim Traore simply because some Nigerians that are slaves of this stooge, Tinubu, are against Traore. It's wrong. You cannot generalize and think that all Nigerians are against Traore because many of us are. Number two, while we are standing behind Traore, we still need to use our brains and try to, bring up conversations that these brothers might see and implement some of these solutions. Like what I just said, if you're going to have dealings with Russia, in my opinion, I don't trust Russia. I definitely don't trust the West. And I absolutely don't trust China. Okay. You shouldn't trust anyone. But if the relationship that we're establishing with these guys, the Russians and the Chinese, which I have no problem with, as far as it's a fair relationship, no problem. And that's it for the live stream. Thank you for joining the African Wahala. If you like this type of content, click on the like button and subscribe. Peace.